Hi, so in this video, I'm going to be doing a complete breakdown tutorial of how I made this battery UI animation. I'm going to show you how to do this from design stage to this final version in CodePen. So in this final version in CodePen, I made this particular slider that controls three distinct properties. That's this wave over here, its position is on the y-axis. That's for it going up and down. It also controls the text, the percentage text, and then it also controls the color of the whole UI. So if I move the slider to 75% here, the wave changes position, the text updates dynamically, and the color is still green. But if I move the slider below 20%, the whole UI changes color. So it moves from this particular green to this red to indicate that the battery is a bit low. Also, independent of the slider is this button over here that says start charging. So this is how you can activate the charging and stop charging flow of this particular interactive animation. So regardless of where the slider is, whether it's on let's say 80% or is on 20%, you can click on this button to move into the charging flow. And then if you want to stop charging, you simply click on stop charging to then it stops charging. Like I said, this is 29%. If you move below, let's say it's on 8%, you can still use this button to trigger the charging flow. And if you click on stop charging, it automatically stops charging. So this is like a very dynamic interactive battery UI animation that can be used for quite a lot of scenarios. You can use this in, say, solar apps. You can use it on mobile apps, websites, anything that requires a battery UI animation. And everything has been made possible by Lottiefiles motion token and state machine. This whole animation is being driven by Lottiefiles motion tokens and state machine. I'll show you how to put everything together in a couple of minutes. If this is being used in a live environment, there will not be need for this slider and the button. But since this is a demo and I want you to be able to see how it works and experience it for yourself, that is why I added this slider and the button. If this is a live environment, these properties will be controlled by actual live settings. So now that we've talked about the animation, let's do the breakdown. So the animation started in Adobe Illustrator, where I did the design primarily. It's just a couple of shapes that I put together to make the battery UI animation. These are just simple shapes, rounded rectangles, we have circles, and we have texts, and that's all. Basic shapes primarily. After the design, I moved into Adobe After Effects to do the animation. This is primarily because of this wave animation. It is not currently possible in Lottie Creator because I have to use an effect in After Effects called wave warp. Then after using the wave warp, I have to use another layer effect called auto trace to essentially get this wave working. Let me just show you what that will look like. I'm going to create a rectangle here. So I'm going to apply the wave warp effect here. I'm using FX Console, sorry, to apply the effect. If you don't know what that is, it's just a very simple plugin that allows you to apply effects without using the effects and effect control panel. So after applying the effect, you just tweak the settings to get the kind of wave you want. But the issue is this is not going to render in Lottie, in any Lottie file at all, because this effect is not supported by any the Lottie format. So how do I now get this to work in my Lottie animation? That is why I have to use the effect called auto trace, this After Effects auto trace. But I don't want to use it in this particular composition. I don't want to mess up anything in this composition. So what you have to do is just to pre-compose that particular layer. I'm just going to call this wave warp tests. Then from here, I want to make sure this is the only thing that has alpha value in this particular composition. You see why in a minute. So I toggled on transparency grid to make sure to see everything that has alpha value. That means everything that is visible in the application. So this is our wave warp in effect. So the next thing you need to do is just click on this particular shape layer, go to layer settings, and then you click on auto trace. So from here, you want to, since this is an animation and you want to define a work area where you want the wave warp to be. After defining your work area, you have to use the work area settings here. And channel, we want to use alpha channel because it's easier in this particular case. We don't have any other thing that has alpha value in this particular animation. So after defining what channel you use, I just leave the remaining settings as default and then I click on OK. Then this is going to automatically trace out this animation throughout the work area, and it's going to apply that. It's going to create a mask based on this animation, apply that to another shape layer. Then I can copy that mask. Let me just show you what it looks like. I'm just going to click on OK for this layer to be auto traced. So the auto trace is done. As you can see, it created another shape layer here and then it applied a mask to that particular shape layer. So this is my original layer. This is the newly created shape layer. So I can just turn off the visibility of my previous layer, the one I used the effect on. So as you can see, we have the same thing here with the wave going on without the effects, without the wave warp effect. So what I can do now is just to bring out my mask by clicking on M, and then I can copy that mask from this particular composition, go back to my original composition, then hide this, create another rectangle. So this is the new rectangle here. Sorry, I created a mask for this instead. I'm going to create a rectangle now. So this is the new rectangle. I like to have this centered. Then I can now paste my mask. The mask I copied from the pre-composition we created. I'm going to paste that over here. And as you can see, it created exactly what we wanted. So now we have that rectangle with the wave thing going on without having any effect on the layer. So now it is going to render in Lottie, whether it's dotLottie, whether it's JSON formats. Now this particular layer will render with the wave without you having to use the After Effects wave warp effect. So that is really why I had to do this animation in After Effects, and that's how you can do the same thing. Anything that has to do with a wave, you can essentially just use the wave warp effect and auto trace to trace it, so you can have it directly on a shape layer instead of having to rely on the wave warp effects that is not going to render in your animation. So that's not the animation I did here. So I have two separate layers for with different wave warp effects. This is layer 1. That's the one that is closest to the view. And I have layer 2. So this C2, this is it here. It is lower in opacity than C1. It is on 60%. In terms of opacity, while C1 is just full 100%. So that particular difference is giving the illusion of fluid flowing in that particular distance. So what I did is I just created a null to control both of them. So this is the null. I parented C1 and C2 to the null, so I can move both of them together. So let me just play this, and then I can use this null to control the height of the wave. So this is important. Once we get to Lottie Creator, you see why I created this null to control both of them together. So that's how I did that, to just have a single layer to control both wave layers. And then they are both sharing the same color. They have basically the same color, but C2 has opacity of 60%. And the next thing I did is to add my segments from my state machine. If you don't know how to add Lottie Creator segments in Adobe After Effects, I did a short video on how you can basically do that. It's like a minute long video. You can quickly watch that to learn how to add your segments in After Effects. And once you export that with the Lottiefiles plugin and you move that into Lottie Creator, those segments will automatically appear in Lottie Creator. So I have 4 segments for this. This is the first segment. It's an idle segment of when the battery is just chilling. Nothing is happening to the battery. It's just chilling. That animation will continually loop just to show you the level of the battery. And the next segment is the charging segment. So this is the animation that plays whenever you charge the battery of any device that this UI is connected to. So it's going to play this particular animation here. And then the third segment is so this is a transitional segment. The way I've set this up is that this particular segment here is a transitional segment. So once you plug this in or you call an event that plays this particular distance, it's not going to stay here. It's going to transition to this third segment here. So whenever the battery is charging, this is the animation flow that will work. And then the last segment is once you stop charging, it's just like the reverse animation of this charging segment over here. So the last segment is the reverse of that. I could have easily just what's it called, in Lottie Creator, I can use the same segment and then put it on reverse, but since I had time and I just wanted it to be as controlled as possible, I manually did the reverse animation here. So let me show you what that looks like in practice before we move to Lottie Creator. So this is that particular animation. This is the same one. Then I can use my slider to move the wave up and down. So this particular slider is essentially controlling the null layer that I created in After Effects to move the wave up and down. And this is the idle segments playing currently. And once I start charging, that transitional segment plays and then it moves to the segments. This is another segment, but the animation is just the transitions is so smooth that you don't really notice that it has moved into another segment. And then once you click on stop charging, it moves back to the idle segment. So after doing all of your animation, doing all of these things in After Effects, the next thing I did was to render that particular composition with the Lottiefiles plugin. On the last note, from After Effects, any text that you need to change dynamically later, maybe in Lottie Creator or once this is a live environment, make sure there are text layers instead of shape layers. Because if you use shape layers, you'll not be able to change this later on. So these are text layers. The Lottiefiles platform now fully supports text layers. I'll show you how to use that once you get to Lottie Creator. So on that note, I'm just going to click on the composition and click on render. And as you can see, it has fully rendered the animation. And if we go to feature support checker, see, it says no issues found. All of the feature and effects we are using in this particular animation is supported. If we had used that wave warp effect, it would have said that particular effect is not supported. So this is a very good news for us. So after doing this, all you have to do from here is just to click on this button to open this animation directly in Lottie Creator. So I'm going to just do that. Open in Lottie Creator. And as you can see, it has open that particular animation in Lottie Creator. It's just going to load it up. In case you do exactly what I've done and you experience something like this, after you open it in Lottie Creator, it's still telling you limited support. It simply means your mask is not using a mode that is supported by Lottie Creator, and that can be easily fixed. All you need to do is find that particular mask. For C1, I have opened the mask. This is it right here. So just simply select the add mask mode, and for C2 I'm going to basically do the same thing. This is the mask for C2. I'm going to change this to add. So that's just a simple fix for that. And we have the animation right here. So this is that transitional period. So from here, the next thing we need to check is if our segments from After Effects have crossed over to Lottie Creator. So we just click on segment here, as you can see, and we have all our segments from After Effects, the idle, the charging. Let me just play this and show you what that looks like. So this is the idle segment. So this is this transitional charging segment. This is the charging idle segment. And once charging stops, this is the segment that plays. So we have all of that working for us. So the next thing we need to do is determine what part of this animation, which properties, which layers do we need to be changed by maybe live data or code when this animation is actually used in a demo or a live environment. So that is when we start creating something called motion tokens. Motion tokens are just it's just a fancy way of saying placeholders. We are just creating placeholders out of layers so we can change them later in production. So for example, I want this particular text to be able to change later in live environment or a demo environment. So what do I do to make sure that happens? I need to just find layer, click on it. For this is a text, so I'm just going to click on the text, the battery percentage text. Then I'm going to find this particular text tab on the right side of the Lottie Creator UI. I'm going to click on this this icon here that has 3 dots. I'm going to click on apply token. So we are creating a placeholder out of this particular layer. So we are creating a motion token. In Lottie Creator, it's called a motion token. So I'm just going to click on create motion token, and I'm going to give that token a name. So this is very important. If you are going to be using this in a live environment with code, I would recommend you do not put space in between the names of, maybe you are naming a layer, you are naming a, what's it called? If you are naming your state machines, or you are naming your events, anything at all, I recommend you should not put space because it breaks code a lot. So for example, I'm going to give this the name battery. So instead of space, I'm going to use underscore battery percent text. So that's that. I'm going to click on save, and a token has been created for that. So the next thing I need to be able to change dynamically later in production or in demo environment is this wave height. I just want to change it on the y-axis, not the x-axis. So I'm going to look for my null control that I created for C1 and C2 because I want to move two of them together. I don't want to move them individually. I want to move them together. They're acting as one entity now. So I'm going to look for that, and that is this status control layer here. This is the null layer here. I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to look for the y-axis. This is the y-axis, so I can move this to show you what it looks like. I'm moving the y-axis. So the next thing I need to do is find the small arrow that is beside the figure on the y-axis. I'm going to click on that, and again click on apply token to create a new token. I'm going to click on create token. I'm going to give this the name wave. Again, I'm not going to use space. I'm going to use an underscore to separate the names. I'm going to give this wave position. So the next thing I need to be able to change later in production or demo environment is the color of the wave C1 and C2. So how do I do that? It's still the same step. Find the layer you want to change. This is the C1 is the wave 1. This is the appearance tab. This is the color. I'm just going to look for the arrow next to whatever layer I want to change. Click on the arrow, then click on apply token. I'm going to create this. I'm going to give this wave the name wave color, then click on OK. C2, since I want to change, it's still the same. They are using the same color. I don't need to create a separate token for C2 since C1 and C2 are basically using the same color, but C2 just has an opacity level of 60%. So what do I do in this case? I'm going to look for C2, click on this arrow here, apply token. So instead of creating a new token, I'm going to use the same token that I created for C1. Just going to click on this wave color, and that's that. And you can do this for as many properties that you want to change in post later. So let me just do one more. I'm going to do for this particular outer circle, which is a gradient. So I need to create a new token for that. I'm going to click on the arrow, apply token, create a new token. It automatically detects the type of token it's going to create. You just need to give it a name. So this I'm going to call the outer circle gradient, and I'm going to save. So that's that. That's just simply how you create as many tokens as you want. These are the properties that you want to be able to be changed. You want to change dynamically later, whether via code, just like we have right here. So the major properties that I'm changing here are the color, the text, and the wave position. So for every layer, every property that you want to be able to change later in live production or demo environment, you just create motion tokens for them. So after you're done creating your motion tokens, you can actually check out all of the tokens you've created using this particular button here, this motion tokens button on the left side of the Lottie creator interface. Just click on them and you are going to see all of the motion tokens you've created. And from here, you can even create different themes. So for example, this is the default theme. You can create another theme for low battery, which is what I did for my previous animation. So this is the animation that I'm showing you, the final version. So this is it here. And if you check my motion token tab, I have two different themes. So this is for when the battery is above 20%. So these are the values for my motion token. And once the battery is below 20%, this is the value I'm going to get. So I've defined all of that. And later in code, I don't need to manually be finding the RGB code or everything. I can simply tell ChatGPT or Claude, I'm going to show you how to do that. That once the battery is below 20%, use the theme from low battery, but once the battery is above 20%, use the theme from the motion token theme default. So you can actually create multiple themes. So let's go back to the one we are working with. So let me delete this and show you how I created this. To create a new theme, just click on the plus icon. Let me show you how we got to the motion token tab again. This icon over here, click on motion tokens and then you click on plus. So it's going to just duplicate what you have on the default and then you can change this to whatever you want. So for low battery, I want this to be 19. So to activate any theme to see what you're doing, just click on it. So I'm going to rename this to low battery. And I'm going to change the property of everything that I've created motion token for. I'm going to reduce the wave effect. And I'm going to change the color of the wave from green to red. Then the gradients too, I can just change the gradient value. So it matches. And I'm supposed to create motion tokens for like this circle and all of those. So this is basically just how you do it. Just create motion token for as much as you want. And then in post, you can use those motion tokens. So after creating your motion tokens in this particular animation, this particular example, the next thing I did was to create a state machines that can activate the charging and the idle and all of those things. This looks ugly. So I'm going to go back to the default theme. So let me just move back to my original animation to show you how the state machine for this particular animation works. So this is my original animation. I'm back here. I'm going to go to state machines and I'm going to create a new state machine just to show you how to do this from scratch. This is a new state machine. The first thing I need to do is to create 4 events. I'm primarily using 4 events because I want, if you check my state machines here, I have 2 key segments and I have 2 transitional segments. So I want a transition to move this from the idle to the charging state, another event, another transition here, I have another transition here, and I have another transition here. So I need 4 events in total to move across this segment. So that is what I'm going to do. So the first event I want to create is an event. This is going to be an event, a one-time event. I'm going to call this charging. Then I'm going to create another event called move to charging. Then I'm going to create another one called stop charging. Then the last one called move to stop charging. So let's create the state machines for this particular animation. I'm going to bring my idle state. This is going to be my initial state. Then I want to move to charging activated. So let me play each of the segments. This is the charging state. Sorry, this is the idle state. It's just when the battery is just chilling, not doing anything, not charging or anything. So this is the charging activated. Let me move this out of the way so we can see it play very well. Charging activated. So the next segment is charging idle. That's when the battery is charging. And the last segment is the charging stop, which is also a transitional segment. I'm going to play this. And I don't know, some text is not missing here. I think is a bug, because if I check, so everything is as it should be over here. So I don't know why this text is not showing. I reckon that's a bug, and it will not affect the final animation. So let's continue with the state machine. So to move from the idle state to this particular state, I'm going to add a transition. Then I'm going to click on the transition. I add the charging event. So once it is in this state, let me pause it for a moment, and then I have to loop this particular state. I want to loop it forever. So it's just going to continue looping. If the battery is not doing anything, it's not charging, it's going to continue being in this state. It will continue to loop. It's just going to be in this state. But immediately this event charging is called, this particular event is triggered, is fired, it's going to move into the charging flow animation. But I don't want it to stop here. If you notice, it stops here. So the next thing I want to do is I want to click on the charging activated and say on complete action. Once this is completed, fire another event. What event do I want to fire? I want to fire move to charging event. So once this particular segment plays, let's continue. And I want to fire this event. You can fire any events by just clicking on this event icon. So I'm going to fire charging. And once that plays, it's going to fire the event move to charging. So what do I want to do with that fired event? I want to use it to drive the transition to charging idle. So I'm going to create that transition, add the condition move to charging. So this is playing. I'm going to fire the event charging. And once it's done, it's going to move to this charging idle. So for the charging idle, we are going to have the fast charging text. I don't know why this is not showing over here. And we are going to have, oh, I need to loop this too. So it's going to be a continuous loop. It's not going to play once and stop. So let's try that again. I'm going to fire charging. And then it moves to this particular event that says charging idle. And then it continues looping that particular part to show that that battery is currently charging. So the next thing we want to do is we want to add a transition from charging idle to charging stop. So I'm going to add that particular transition here, and I'm going to use the event stop charging. So once this event is triggered, this particular flow is going to play. Let's try that. Click on charging, it fires, and it moves into charging idle. And then once I fire the event stop charging, it moves into the stop charging flow. It stops. I don't want it to stop here, so I'm going to create another transition here to move it back into idle. Then to get that transition, I'm going to add the event move to stop charging, or it can be move to idle. In this particular case, you can name it move to stop charging or move to idle. I think it makes more sense to name it move to idle, so I'm going to rename it move to idle. Please, the naming convention and how you name things, especially events, inputs, and interactions in your state machines is very, very important. You have to remember these things. The naming for your inputs, your motion tokens, especially if you are going to be using this animation in a live environment. These are some of the things you are going to use in writing your code. I'll show you how that works in a couple of minutes. So I want to trigger on complete action for this particular segment. I want to fire an event. What event do I want to fire? The one I use for this last transition, that's move to idle. So this particular cycle is complete. This is going to continue looping. It's going to continue. This is going to continue looping, and once this particular event is fired, it's going to move to the charging, and once that is done, we can fire the event stop charging to move back to idle. So that is how I created the state machines for this particular animation. Now I'm going to delete this now since I don't need it. I already have that as state machine 1. This is very, very important too, the naming of your state machines. So you can name it anything you want at all, but I would recommend you do not put space between the naming of your state machines too. So I'm going to delete this since I don't need this. I already have that over here. So this is exactly the same thing like we did just now. So once that is done, you've created your motion tokens, you've created, what's it called? You've created your state machines, you've done all of that. The next thing you need to do is to export your animation to your Lottiefiles workspace. And that is very simple to do. All you have to do is click on the green export button over here. Select a, what's it called? Select, give it a name, select a folder for your animation, and then you click on export. I've already exported this, and this is it in this particular view. So from here you can see your state machines. Then you can click on this last icon over here to see all of your motion tokens that are embedded in the animation, and then from here you can test all of your motion tokens. So you can change the text, change the Y position of what's it called, the wave from here. These are all of the motion tokens that we created in Lottie Creator. The color, you can change the color, you can change the gradient, and you can switch themes from here too. If you click on this button over here, you can switch to the low battery theme, and this is the default theme. So we are going to be using this later once we are creating the demo for this particular animation. So if you are going to be using this, if you are handing this over to a developer, this is where your work ends. All you have to do is just click on the handoff button over here. Then you can either download this as a dotLottie file and then hand it over to your developer, or you can use the handoff tab, turn this on, asset CDN on, and then you can give them the assets link so they can use this in their code, in whatever they are going to be using this for. And if you are going to be embedding it somewhere, they are also embedding codes over here. But for me, I wanted to create a live demo for anybody that is going to be using this, but I'm not a developer. I don't know how to write code. So that is where this particular documents, motion tokens in code, that is where it comes in. It's just a very simple guide. I think 2 to 3 pages guide that I can use to actually vibe code your way into just putting this in a live environment, just like you see here. I'm going to share the link to this particular document, all of the source files of the animation, the CodePen in the link in the description or comments of this video. So basically you can go through these particular documents to check how you can essentially there's a guide for developers and a guide for designers. I'm a designer, so I'm not using this. This is the guide I used, and I'm going to show you how to do this very simple in a couple of minutes. So let me just open ChatGPT and Claude on one side. You can either use ChatGPT or Claude, any AI agent of your choice. I tend to prefer Claude in this particular example because it was able to really read about the runtime of the requirements of the dotLottie format and all of those things. And in like 2 or 3 prompts, I was able to get this final JS code that made this animation work the way I desired. ChatGPT is good too, but personally I prefer Claude in this case, and I'm going to show you how to use Claude in a minute. So just like I've said, if you want to dive deep into how to put this in a demo, just like you see in the CodePen over here, you can read these documents. But let me quickly show you how to do it yourself and how I did mine. So the first thing you are going to need is this file over here. This .lottieSkills.md. it's still the same thing here, motion token skills.md. So if you are a developer, this is the one you are going to use. If you are a designer, you don't want to write code yourself, you want to vibe code, maybe use AI agent to create your demo, this is the file you are going to need. So this is the first thing you are going to need. Just download this file. And the second thing you are going to need is your dotLottie format for the animation. So you can also download this from your workspace. Just go to your workspace, go to the handoff section, download, and then you click on download. Download this and download the motion token skills.md file too. Once you've downloaded those files, the next thing you need to do is just to upload them to your AI agent of choice. I'm going to be using Claude for this. So let me just quickly show you how that works. Let me open a new tab. So I have both over here. This is my dotLottie file, and I have the motion token skills MD here. I'm just going to drag and drop both files over here. So once it's there, the next thing I need to just do is to tell the AI agent what I want. And for me, I told the AI agent I want to create a slider that will control my wave position, the color. Just tell the AI agent whatever you want with animation. So sorry, there's a step you need to do before that. You have to create your CodePen canvas, and that's very easy. One of Lottiefiles team member George has created a template you can easily use for that. Just click on, I think you can find it on this document over here. So yes, so this is it. This is the template you can use. Just click on the template. So this is it over here. You can just fork the template. I'm going to do you can use the template or fork the template. So I'm going to click on use this template instead. Then once you're done, I created an account already. That's why I was able to do this. So you might need to create an account to get to this stage. So just give your, what's it called? Your this thing a name. I'm going to call this battery UI. Just give your project a name. I'm going to call this battery UI animation v3. And that is all you need to get the template for your CodePen to actually put this in a demo environment if you're a designer. So the next thing you need to do is go back to your AI agent. This is going to be Claude, and just tell it whatever you want. I want my animation. I have this particular animation. It can read most of the attributes of the animation from what you've uploaded over here. So you just have to tell it what you want it to do for you. So in my case, I just told it I want to create a slider that will control the wave position on the y-axis only. So you have to be very specific. That's why I said you have to know the name of all of those things. So I'm going to share the prompt I use. It's pretty long, and I don't want to bore you out. For this particular animation, if you want to try it out yourself, I'm going to share that with in the comments or the description of this video. So what I just told you basically is I want to create a slider that controls the wave height on the y-axis only. I don't want it to move on the x-axis. So in case you don't know, the vertical axis is the y-axis, while the horizontal axis is the x-axis. So I want the wave to move up and down only. I don't want it to move left and right. And again, I want that particular slider to control my text too, and I want it to control the color of the UI too. So that's one of the things I told you. Then I told the AI agent to create another button. So once you click on the button, it starts playing the it triggers an event that is listened to by my state machine. The event it triggers is this particular event over here, the charging event. So, and once you click on stop charging, it's triggering this particular event, the stop charging event. And that is how we were able to get this charging and not charging animation flow in the live demo environment. So if a developer or you are using this in any environment, whether demo or live environment, you can also just call on this particular event to change states of your animation. So that's just how easy it is. I know this is lengthy because I'm explaining it, but if I'm doing this on my own, this is something I can do in a couple of hours, from design to the full demo. So it didn't take much time like that, even though this is absolutely my first time working with this length of code. I've tried to learn coding in the past, but I was frustrated. So I basically don't know JS, I don't know CSS, I don't know HTML. This is my first time working with any of these, and I was able to do this in a couple of hours. So I believe you can do it. So I believe anybody can also do it too. So with state machines, with motion tokens, and especially this is like easier than it has ever been. So basically, let's just try this out since we already have this template over here. So this is the template we created. The first thing you need to do is to go to your workspace, go to the handoff section, enable asset CDN, and then copy this assets link here. Copy the asset link. This is the CodePen, and then you have to paste that asset link in this particular spot that said paste your direct dotLottie URL here. So I've pasted that. Then I'm going to go to Claude and they'll tell it to write some code for me. So you are not going to say wave position. Claude will not be able to understand if you say wave position, this, that. You have to use the absolute name of that motion token. So for this, I'm going to call the motion token. This is the one we are using. Let me be sure. This is the animation we are using. So the wave position is called charging percent wave. So this is the name we are going to use. If you just say wave position, Claude will be confused. That is why I said it is when you are naming this thing, you have to really put your mind into it and remember your naming convention. Charging percent wave. So that's like a very quick prompt that I've written. One thing I notice again is you should build this in layers. Don't try to just give the AI the full instruction once. Do it step by step. The slider first, and then you add more instructions. You build it layer by layer, and it works better that way from my experience. So I'm just going to try this out. Give the AI a couple of minutes, a couple of seconds to read this. So the AI has written a first version JavaScript code for us. So let's copy that and test that in CodePen. So this is that. I'm going to just paste it over here and then click out of it. It's currently loading. So it's not showing here. And from the code, I can see what the problem is because we are supposed to replace this. That's why you have to pay attention to the code from sometimes. You don't need to write some yourself, but you might need to actually read the text in the code to see what you're supposed to do. So right here, it says replace with your hosted URL. So that's what we need to do next. Just need to copy our hosted URL. We already have it here. You can copy it from here, or you can go to your animation on your workspace tab, go to the handoff, and then this is it right here. It's still the same thing. So I'm just going to copy that and then paste it over here. And as you can see, we have our animation that is popping up, but it does not work. So since it's not working, the next thing to do is just tell the AI that it's not working. And you cannot give the AI the link of your hosted file. So for my own case, I was able to get this going on the first try. I was able to get like 80% of the way from the first try because I had more than enough time to give the AI a lot of information about my animation, the limits I want, the name of each particular motion token that I had in the animation, what each type of motion token is, all of the names of the events I have in my state machine and everything, because I had enough time. But I'm just skipping this through because I don't want this video to be too long. So this is the newly written JS code. Let's try this out. Just have to copy, go back to our CodePen, remove the previous one, and let's try this out. It's still the same thing, it's not working. So I think what I reckon is just to go back to the AI, just give it all of the information I just mentioned. Give it as much information as you can about your animation. Give it all of those things, and in the end you should be able to just get a JS code that will work just like you want. Like this in this particular case, and I'm just going to refresh this to make sure it actually works. And this is it, and we have it here. Then I can increase, decrease, and all of those things. So like I said, the link to everything that I used in this particular, from the design to the Lottie creator file to the Lottie file, the CodePen, everything will be in the comments or description of this particular video. So if you have any comments or you have any recommendation or you want to see any kind of video, please let me know in the comment section. Cheers.